sitting here with Liz Peuster, who's on our strategic vision team here at Sunrise, and also Dr. Tracy Trupka, who is a member of Sunrise, who is also an ICU physician. And we are discussing this whole idea, this whole concept of worshiping in a worship circle. What is a worship circle?
Essentially, what it boils down to is interacting with people on a small scale for worship. So I think, over the last couple of months, we've shrunk our community of faith, our in-person communities of faith, to really just our immediate family. This is kind of the perfect opportunity to start inviting people into your circle, to start gingerly opening that up and taking your neighbors that you've been interacting with over the last couple of months, or if you've been going to work and there are people you work with that you want to invite into your community of faith.
So if I'm already around my coworker, it's like, hey, we already around each other, let's worship together.
Let's just worship together too.
So how would I do that then? What does that mean? What does that look like?
So that might be getting together on Sunday morning, and you sit around and you watch and worship with the live service.
So it sounds like as long as you have access to the online worship, the Sunrise online worship service, it can be at any time you choose,
right,
and with any people that you choose, and in any location that
Absolutely.
you choose, right? So
where you need it to be.
So Tracy, from a medical standpoint, what are the things to keep in mind so that we can do this safely, or is there a safe way to do this?
I think it's very important for people who have smaller health risks and aren't high risk for severe disease to take into consideration whether or not this is something that's for them. And it's absolutely not for everyone. So I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, make sure you're open and honest with a group of people as you're talking about forming a worship circle. You want the same people every week, the same families, so that you're not increasing exposure outside of the group. And be honest about who else you're seeing outside of the group. They need to know what risk they're incurring by coming to this worship circle with you.
Because you have said it is incurring a risk.
Correct.
To be around anybody at this time.
Correct.
Right? So it's a calculated risk.
I think that there's individuals that this would be very well suited for. Those would be people that are currently getting ready to go out and see other people, or starting to go see people. If you're having your kids go play with the neighbors, consider asking your neighbors to come over and watch church with you. I mean, if you're already interacting with them, it's the same risk as your kids playing together. Or if there's people through church that you've been interacting with on Zoom, and you guys would otherwise be socializing outside of this, talk about maybe 2 or 3 families getting together and forming a small worship circle where you're able to get together in person and your kids can see each other.
Then what would we do? What safety precautions would a worship circle need to put in place? I mean, should they be wearing masks?
So I think it's going to be very individualized based on the risk tolerance for the group, and I would go with the most conservative person in the group. Make sure you're doing things if people are coming to your house. Wipe down surfaces ahead of time, wipe down doorknobs, light switches, the bathroom people will be using, and then do the same thing after they leave in order to avoid any surface contamination.
So I know a big question on a lot of people's minds might be like, what is the safe number? How many people do you recommend for a worship circle?
So there's no right number of people. What I say is that the smaller the number of people in your group, the smaller the risk. Just like, one household has less risk than coming to a giant church full of people. Having 2 or 3 families has less risk than having 4 or 5 families.
Sure. So what benefits do you see for children?
I think for kids, just to have a chance to be a child is so precious.
Yeah, and have other kids to play with that they've been missing so much. School's been out. And
so
how
much.
cool too to be in and around the adults worshiping and as a part of a faith community.
Right.
And I know too, like BJ and the family ministry department have a lot of resources out there. So it could also be utilizing family ministry resources before the service that everybody does together, or after the service, or maybe one adult takes the kids during the sermon or something like that. Why are worship circles worth it from a virus standpoint?
What we've talked about multiple times at church is that the church isn't the building, it's the people, and it's the community of faith. And what we need to bring back to our worship now is that feeling of community. And even if it's one other family, 2 other families, I can tell you personally that you get a huge sense of community just from that hour of worship together.
So thank you guys so much for this conversation. I'm so excited about our communities and the worship circles that might be formed as people think and pray about worshiping in this way. We want to remind you that we're not telling you that this is what you have to do. This is just an option we wanted to lift up and also start to step into a little bit of community, little by little. Thank you so much.